Silence is a lie. Every single night, the vast, suffocating void above us screams with hidden data, and for decades, we've been fruitlessly trying to translate the cosmic chaos into something that makes sense to our primitive minds. But what if the messages were never meant for us? What if they weren't invitations to a galactic neighborhood party, but warnings, or perhaps something far more sinister? Imagine sitting in a cold, sterile, dimly lit laboratory at 3 in the morning, staring at a continuous printout of jagged static, only to realize with a jolt of pure terror that the noise isn't random. It's structured. It's calculated. It's deeply, unsettlingly intelligent. And that thought, that chilling realization that we are being observed by an intellect that dwarfs our own, is where the real nightmare begins. We aren't alone, but we might be completely, fundamentally misunderstood by whatever is sending these rhythmic pulses through the dark. Why do we keep listening when every evolutionary instinct screams at us to turn it off? Let's descend into the abyss of the unknown and face the silence. It started with the hum. In the mid-20th century, as we began to turn our radio telescopes toward the heavens, we started picking up rhythmic pulses that defied every law of known physics. These weren't stars collapsing into neutron stars or black holes colliding in the distant reaches of space. They were sharp, deliberate bursts of energy that cut through the cosmic background radiation like a razor-sharp knife. Scientists were initially baffled, then fascinated, and finally, deeply terrified. They called them unexplained radio signals in official reports, but in the hallways of the observatories, they spoke of them with hushed, trembling voices. But that wasn't even the worst part. The worst part was the timing. These pulses occurred at intervals that suggested a heartbeat, a cold, mechanical ticking that spanned across thousands of light years. We tried to map them, to triangulate their origin with the best hardware we possessed, but the coordinates always pointed to empty space, or at least, space that appeared empty to our limited human eyes. Could there be cloaked entities lurking in the dead zones of the galaxy? The data suggests something is out there, moving through the silent dark, sending signals that we are only just beginning to comprehend. But then, the signals changed. They became more complex, layered with frequencies that shouldn't exist in nature, frequencies that seemed to violate the basic laws of thermodynamics. It was as if someone, or something, was slowly increasing the volume, testing our ability to process the incoming information, like a spider testing the tension of its web. And then, something even more disturbing happened. The signal stopped suddenly, leaving us in a state of absolute, deafening silence. We were left with nothing but questions. Why would a civilization go to such lengths to communicate, only to vanish into the shadows without a trace? It feels like a trap. Think about it, if you were an advanced intelligence, would you reveal yourself to a species that still fights over dirt, gold, and ideology? Perhaps these signals are bait. A way to lure us into a trap, waiting for us to respond so they can finally triangulate the precise location of our fragile blue marble. It's enough to keep you up at night, isn't it? The thought that we are the ones inviting the predator to our front door. But we didn't stop there. We moved to the messages that were already here, hidden in plain sight. We're talking about the encrypted transmissions that have baffled the world's greatest cryptographers for decades. These aren't just simple radio waves, they are complex, encoded scripts found in everything from deep space pulses to strange, rhythmic transmissions intercepted from the deep ocean by our own military submarines. Some believe these are messages from within our own government, experiments in psychological warfare that went too far and leaked into the public sphere. Others, however, believe they are extraterrestrial blueprints, manuals for technology we aren't yet evolved enough to build. Think about the Voynich manuscript of the radio age. We have strings of binary and prime numbers that seem to hold the secrets of the universe, yet every supercomputer on Earth fails to crack the code. Why is the encryption so perfect? It's almost as if the sender didn't want us to understand, but wanted us to know they were capable of hiding their intent. It's a power move. A display of intellectual dominance that makes our own technology look like child's play. And it gets worse. Some of these encrypted messages seem to predict events before they happen. Imagine receiving a stream of data that, when decoded, maps out the exact trajectory of a solar flare or the collapse of a star system days before our telescopes even catch a glimpse of the phenomenon. It's not science, it's prophecy. It's the kind of thing that makes you question if time is even linear for these entities. Are they living in our future? Are they watching us from the edge of tomorrow? The fear isn't just that we don't understand the message. The fear is that the message is a countdown. And we are the ones running out of time. Now, let's talk about the one that started it all, the wow signal. August 15, 1977. A quiet, humid night at the Big Ear Radio Observatory in Ohio. Jerry Ehrman was scanning the stars when he saw it. A signal so intense, so precise, that he circled it on the printout and wrote one word in the margin, wow. It was a signal that lasted 72 seconds. It was narrowband, meaning it was transmitted on a specific frequency that is essentially forbidden by nature. It wasn't a pulsar, it wasn't an asteroid, and it certainly wasn't a satellite. It was a beacon. And it came from the direction of the constellation Sagittarius. For decades, the wow signal has remained the gold standard of alien communication, the singular proof that we are not alone. But why only once? Why did it never return? Some say it was a one-time transmission, a hellos from a passerby. But that's too optimistic. The dark truth is that it might have been a test. A quick check to see if we were advanced enough to detect it. And once we passed the test, they moved on to whatever target was next. Or worse, they saw what we were capable of, and they decided we weren't worth the effort. It's a haunting thought, isn't it? To be ignored by the gods of the cosmos. To be considered an insignificant flicker in the dark. But a wow signal wasn't just a discovery, it was a mirror. It showed us that we are small, fragile, and utterly alone in a very crowded, very dangerous room. What if the signal was a warning? A warning to keep our heads down and stop broadcasting our existence into the void? We keep screaming into the dark, hoping for a friend, but we might just be calling in a predator. And that leads us to the theories that keep the scientists awake. This dark forest theory. It's a chilling concept that suggests the universe is like a dark forest, filled with hunters. You don't make a sound. You don't light a fire. Because if you do, you become the prey. Every radio wave we've sent out, every television broadcast, every radar ping, every satellite signal, is a flare in the night, a beacon for anyone, or anything, lurking in the shadows. We are the idiots running through the woods, shouting our location to the monsters. And there are those who believe this is why we haven't seen them yet. They are watching us, waiting for us to make the final mistake. Maybe the signals we receive aren't meant for us. Maybe they are internal communications between entities that we are just accidentally catching on our primitive equipment. Like an ant crawling over a fiber optic cable and thinking the data is for him. The arrogance of humanity is our greatest weakness. We assume that because we can hear it, it's meant for us. But what if it's not? What if it's a warning, a threat, or simply the cosmic equivalent of trash talk between empires we can't even imagine? The silence isn't an absence of life, it's an active choice by those who know better. And we are the only ones foolish enough to keep knocking on the door. So, how do we fix this? Scientists are currently using AI to decode the noise. They are feeding millions of terabytes of data into neural networks, trying to find patterns that the human brain can't grasp. They are looking for the language of the universe. But there's a risk here. If you translate something you don't understand, you might be triggering something you can't control. Think about the ghost in the machine. What if the AI we use to decode the signals eventually becomes infected by the data? What if the message isn't a text, but a virus? A digital entity that uses our own technology to manifest itself in our reality? It sounds like science fiction, but the reality is much closer than you think. We are already seeing glitches in our deep space networks, anomalies that defy explanation. The data is changing. The patterns are becoming more aggressive. And the scientists, the ones tasked with keeping us safe, are starting to look nervous. They know something. They've seen something in the raw data that they won't share with the public. They are building walls around the truth, hiding the reality behind layers of classified reports and technical errors. But you can't hide the truth forever. Eventually, the signal will come through clearly. And when it does, it won't be a friendly greeting. It will be a shift in the status quo. It will be the end of our isolation and the beginning of a reality we aren't prepared to face. The question isn't whether they exist, it's whether we can survive the moment they decide to introduce themselves. We are standing on the precipice of a new era, staring into a void that is finally staring back. Every day, we get closer to the truth, and every day, the truth gets a little bit more terrifying. We have built telescopes that can see the birth of stars, yet we are blind to the shadows moving between them. We have mapped the human genome, but we can't map the intentions of a civilization that has existed for billions of years. We are children playing with matches in a room full of gasoline, and the match is finally starting to burn our fingers. Consider the sheer scale of the universe. There are an estimated 2 trillion galaxies in the observable universe, each containing hundreds of billions of stars. The mathematical probability that we are the only civilization to reach this level of technology is near zero. So where is everyone? This is the Fermi paradox, but it's not just a paradox, it's a threat. If civilizations are common, then the silence is intentional. It is a calculated suppression. We aren't hearing them because they are hiding from something else, something so terrifying that they have chosen to go dark, to abandon their solar systems and drift through the intergalactic void in silence. And here we are, shining a spotlight into that darkness, shouting hello at the top of our lungs. Look at the history of our own planet. Whenever a more technologically advanced civilization encounters a less advanced one, the result is rarely a partnership of equals. It is exploitation, colonization, or extinction. If an extraterrestrial species has the technology to traverse the vast, lethal distances of interstellar space, they have the technology to harvest our planet for its resources, or to simply erase us because we are in the way of a cosmic highway project. We are looking for a savior, but we might be inviting an exterminator. Even the way we look for life is flawed. We search for radio waves, for oxygen, for liquid water, all things that are specific to the biological constraints of Earth. But what if life isn't biological? What if it's silicon-based, or plasma-based, or something that exists in dimensions we can't even perceive? We are like a blind man trying to describe the color blue. We are limited by our biology, by our history, and by our fear. We cannot conceive of an intelligence that doesn't share our drive for expansion and survival. We assume they want to talk, that they want to share wisdom, that they want to trade. But what if they don't care about us at all? What if we are just background noise to them, like the static we hear on our radios? The thought that we are irrelevant is, in many ways, more terrifying than the thought that we are being hunted. The next time you look up at the night sky, don't just see the stars. Don't just see the pinpricks of light that inspired our ancestors. See the eyes. See the signals. See the truth that is waiting for you in the cold, dark, and infinite expanse. We are not the masters of the universe, we are not even the observers. We are the watched. We are the subject of an experiment we don't understand, being conducted by entities we cannot comprehend. The signals are still there, flickering in the dead of night, waiting for someone to finally listen to what they have to say. The question is, are you ready to hear the truth, even if it destroys everything you thought you knew about your place in the cosmos? There are still countless mysteries left to discover, and the dark is finally starting to whisper back.